Hello, this is the Converse Engineer and welcome to today's video, in which we will be using Python to connect our EV3 brick to our computer. So, as you can see, I already have Visual Studio open. So, let's go ahead and create a new project. And we'll make a Python application, and we'll call it EV3 control. Great, so hit OK, and there we go. We have a new class called EV3 control. So now let's make a new class, so new item, and we'll call it a Python class, and we'll name it EV3. And we'll capitalize the V. Oopsies. And let's hit add, and there we go. So I can open up EV3.python now. And as you can see, we have a class for our EV3 object. So I don't need the object, so we can delete that. And let's get started. So first thing first, we'll create our init function. So for our constructor, not want that, okay. All we have to do is reference ourselves, and let's get to it. So now we're going to have to create our Bluetooth socket, and to this we'll use the socket class. So let's go ahead and import socket. There we go. And so now we can create a self, oopsies, dot socket. We'll just call it socket1 for now, and we'll make a new socket dot socket, and let's set the family to socket.a of Bluetooth, because we're using Bluetooth. And we can leave this type as sock stream, that's not important. And the protocol, we'll set the protocol to socket.bluetooth proto rfcom. Great, so that will make our socket. So next, we have to connect our EV3 brick, oopsies, to this socket. And it's also very simple, just self dot socket1 dot connect and so we need our ID for our brick, and we also need a port, which we'll just set to 1. Cool, so for our ID, we'll just take that as a parameter for our construction. So just add an ID of type string. Cool. So now if we create another new program, so hit add new item, Python file, and we'll title it main.py, and hit add. We can first off import our EV3. Cool. And next, we can just do if name equals main. Then we can run, and we'll create a new EV3. And for ID, if you don't know how to get your ID, then open your brick, head over to the settings tab, and click on brick info. And then just add your ID to here. So for me, I'll just use generic ID of that. Sure. Great. So now if you just hit save and run, and make sure your brick is connected via Bluetooth, so either from the top or the bottom, depending on whether you're a Mac or a Windows. And if you were to hit run, you would see that it would connect. Obviously mine won't because I don't have a brick connected, but there we go. Cool. So now that that's done, we can quickly add a delete function. So, oopsies, I cannot type apparently. And we'll just close our socket. So self.socket.close. Cool, and once again, let's reference ourselves. Great. So next, let's run programs on our EV3 brick via our Python program. So next up, we'll create a new function, and let's call it send command. So def send command, and once again reference our self. Let's also reference a command. Great, so once again, very simple, just self dot socket1 dot send command. Oopsies, not that. Self.socket.send, no command. And we want to send our command. Great, that's all that we have to do there. So, next let's create a new function to format our command. So def format command. Once again, reference ourself. To also reference our command that we want to send. Oopsies. Command we want to send. Great. So the EV3 command is split into sections, and so let's create each section. So command, and we want this to be as a byte. So let's create a byte dot join, and now we can add our various sections to this. So before we add our sections, we need a way to format our strings into bytes. So to do this, we'll create another function and call it format string. And import the string we want to format. Great. And to format our strings, we will use the structure class. So let's import struct. There we go. And let's do struct dot pack, and for our type we want a little endian short, and then we'll pack our string, and we can return this. And we'll quickly add a type, so string should be of type string, and it will return. Actually, never mind, I'll leave the completion out. Cool, so back to here, and we can just quickly do, first off, add a self to that, and then head back to here and self dot format string, and for this, we want to the first part of our command, according to the EV3, is the length. So let's take the length of our command, and then add 5 to it because there are 5 other things aside from our command. And we'll just add a quick comment and saying that this is our length. Cool, so next we can do self.format again. A command, format string. Oh yes, and also add a comma there. Forgot about that. Self.format string, and our second one is our counter, and this one is just set to 42, and I'm actually going to remove this string classification because that way we can also format numbers. But anyway, that's all that we have there, and that's just going to be our counter. So once again, we can add a comment for our counter. Cool, so next one is whether or not we want to reply. And for this, let's actually add a new parameter. We'll call it reply, and restrict this parameter to a type of a boolean. There we go. And a quick if statement for our reply. So if reply is yes or true, then we want to set underscore reply to equal 0x/01. Cool. And if, else, so if the reply is false, we can set reply, set underscore reply to 0x-81, which is the direct command for no reply. So then we'll just add our reply, and this is our reply. And we'll add a comma. And cool. So next one is our memory. And for our purposes, we're not going to use any memory. So we'll just do once again self.format string. And we'll just use 0 because we don't wish to store any memory. Cool, and then head forward and set this to our memory. And one more, and the last one is to be our command that we're trying to actually execute. So we'll just use our command that we referenced back here. And once again, add a comment, and this one is our command. Great. We'll do extra space, and there we go. We now have a function to format our command. So heading back to our main program now, we can demonstrate this just by, for example, I can now do EV3.send command, and before we send a command, actually format a command. So let's call this a new command, and we'll set it to format command EV3.format command, and let's use the command for now 0x-00, which is the direct command for do nothing. And we'll just set the reply to true, because why not? Great. And I have to capitalize the tree in true. Whoopsies. And then we can just send this, so send new command. Cool. So one more thing we can do is, if we head back to here, we can actually return, not rerun, return self.socket.send command. And what this does is, if we are getting a reply, it will return the reply. So then we can just print this, and that will return our reply. Cool. So as you can see, we now have our EV3 class, and we have a very simple program to access our class. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please stay tuned for next week's video, where we will be further explaining the program, adding more motor support and sensor support. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.